Suffering is how we get stuck up here, but avoidance is how we get stuck out here. And this one comes with a whole lot of bad things that you have to look at, but they're not really yours. So let me break down avoidance and how avoidance kicks you off the path. In the absence of deep meaning, man seeks pleasure. Viktor Frankl. I love that book. Avoidance is how I interpret self-sabotage. Okay, it's how I experience self-sabotage. This is also what you most dislike about yourself. Okay, these behaviors, avoidance behaviors are the behaviors you don't like about yourself. In fact, avoidance behaviors, when they've escalated to bigger avoidance behaviors and patterns. So if you look at your avoidance behaviors, you've probably spent quite a bit of time hiding them. And so sometimes you have to dig these up. And you also think that these are deeply tied to who you are, and they're not. Okay, so we have avoidance. Whenever we get a feeling of fear, we want to run to avoidance. But really it comes down to pleasure and pain. Whenever we experience pain, we seek pleasure. In the absence of deeper meaning, man seeks pleasure. You will learn from me how action comes from alignment. And I'm afraid to fail means I'm afraid to be rejected and therefore shamed and hurt. This is a fear response. So I'm going to avoid this fear and or this feeling or this confrontation. Oh, social media. Avoidance. Starts just like that. Boredom is avoidance. Analysis, paralysis, and perfectionism is avoidance. Gossip is avoidance. Some people choose the opposite energy. They choose to say things like, oh, I'm just afraid of being successful because my dreams are so big. Like they're just so big. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, no, that's just avoidance, just straight out avoidance. What about my avoidance? Obsessing about our bodies and food, avoidance. Battling the self, internal monologue, self-criticism, resistance, self-hate, avoidance. And, we're afraid of emotions, but nothing grows further than your emotional response to anything. How can you go beyond what your emotional state is? Because you can't. That's it. However you're emotionally reacting to this right now is as far as you go here. If you can't bring yourself to above it, to stop crying, to look at it, you're only going to stay in this feeling. It will not grow past your emotional response. So I call this the state in which you dwell, and that is the state that you attract from. Self-value is about learning to love and accept everything that you are right now. It's about discovering your true self and learning how you create these narratives that just hold you down. You cannot avoid your emotional self. But I experience self-sabotage as being stuck in my avoidance behaviors. That's how I experience it. Because you see, disruptive behaviors like overspending or the overconsumption of anything, drugs, alcohol, spending, scrolling for hours on social media, gossip, they just start as simple stress relief. That's what we go to it because we want dopamine, we want stress relief, but it's not self-care. Because these behaviors give you a feeling. You get a feeling from all of them. That's stress relief. And are they a crave parent's pleasure? Check in. Is the pain pattern yours? Always check that first. Is it pure avoidance to the path that you have to walk and the pain that you're afraid of, that you might have to face? They're all dopamine triggers, okay? But they become the problem. And when they become the problem, they become addictions. And all addictions come from avoidance. The avoidance is triggered by fear or pain. And as soon as we feel it, we go straight to avoidance. We go to pleasure to feel good. It's that simple. At first, it's stress relief, and then it's a habit, and a personality is forming around this. Behavior is forming around this. This is not who you are. All of these are avoidance behaviors to you honoring your path. And the path that you need to walk and filling yourself up with value and to become the problem. But they're not the problem, or they just felt good. They just felt good and now they're a problem. That's how we sabotage ourselves. I'm going to address avoidance eating first because it's the most asked about, and it's the avoidance eating people ask about, but they're not asking me about avoidance eating. They're asking me how to lose weight. And it's not the weight you need to lose. I don't care that you're eating it. If that is your avoidance, that you're eating it, I don't care that you're eating it. I care about what you're avoiding, because it's not about the food. You could be drinking it, spending it, social mediaing it, sexing it. It doesn't matter. If you are doing something destructive to yourself that's stopping you from stepping forward, it is that choice. It is right there in that moment, the behavior, not the choice, okay? Not the choice of stress relief, but the behavior that you needed to cover up in that moment. Now, it becomes an emotional addiction, but you're really focused on the food addiction or the body hate or the drug addiction. But the emotional addiction, the pattern that you've got yourself into that you could not break, that loop of yearning, is now an emotional addiction. So you've gone past the point of just addicting yourself to a drug or a food or an alcohol or a spending behavior. You've now gone and developed an entire personality around it. And you're going to fight this personality. You're going to fight this eater, drinker, gambler, shopper, sexaholic. You're going to fight it. And yet it was what you wanted, to be free of stress and pain relief. You were giving yourself love. Why? Why is it so hard? Because now I'm emotionally addicted to feeling like, yes, aren't you special? And if you're telling me you can't have love because of your weight, or you can't achieve success in business because of your body shape, then you are the one saying you are unacceptable to have anything you want. And you can obsess, you can numb it, you can eat it, you can spend it, snort it, purge it, control it. Your answers are not in the fridge or at the casino or at the mall. That's just stress relief or fulfillment. So what's with all the stress? Stress is your mouth saying yes and your soul screams no. That is out of alignment. That is a call to self-love and more boundaries, and you're fighting the problem. You're fighting the food. And food is not the problem. Why are you so stressed out? The problem again, that old story and the identity that you hold around your body, around the perception of your body. It's how you eat, that good girl, bad girl, good boy, bad boy eating. It's how your body looks. And when you believe your body is acceptable, when you believe your body is acceptable, and when it's unacceptable to you, it's you rejecting you. So if there's lots of stress eating, if you're going through something and you choose food, like that's my stress relief, okay, then what's going to happen in times of stress when I'm working through stress? Okay, and you all know the difference between joyful overconsumption and disordered binge eating to get a feeling, correct? Right, because I am talking about when your avoidance behaviors go past that point to emotional addiction, binge eating. When you're getting addicted, you're starting to push down emotions and you are binge eating to cover pain instead of for the joy of eating. Okay, that's the difference. And it's very important because we are so hardwired to think of diet culture. I'm not telling you to stop eating. I'm referring to disordered binge eating. Your body will naturally fluctuate in weight, won't it? Because you're eating a lot more, you're stress eating. This will trigger comments. This will trigger rejection. This will trigger judgment from your family and friends. You're going to go out in the world, someone's going to give you feedback. Someone's going to tell you you're fat, okay? And all of a sudden, all of that trigger is just going to just start hitting you hard. The comments, the rejection, okay? Suddenly, it's comparison. I'm comparing my body. And then it's body obsession. And then it's I'm never good enough and there's never a finish line because you are never skinny enough, ever. And when you finally get skinny enough, you're never young enough. And then when you finally get young enough, you're never the right skin color, or you're never the right hair type, or you don't have the eye color you want because you're just never enough, and still you yearn to be different, to be loved. This is a space of comparison and competition, and it is the opposite to creation. More obviously, your solution in this moment to get love is to go on a diet. Solution. The diet you're about to implement for the 4,895th time of your life to zero success to remove your favorite stress relief, and along with a big drop in energy intake for your current physical body and a mental state of survival and an emotional state of not good enough. And all of that pain that you've been accumulating and all of that evidence and self-perception around your body and I'm a good person, I deserve more, but I can see that I'm a bad person because I do bad things, and all the rejection and judgment. And if I could just stop eating, if I could just stop eating and just control myself and be good and just control myself, and I stuff food down and I binge privately and I hate myself for it, and I stuff feelings down because I can't speak up for myself and I hate myself for it because I get so angry, and people, they just crush that flimsy boundary, and I burn with resentment, and I eat and I keep eating more, and I cover my pain and I anesthetize it and I muzzle myself because I'm muzzling my rage, and it's not fair, and it's sadness, and it's my shame, and it's getting bigger, and I just want to stop. And the paradox is I want to hide. I want so much to hide. I'm getting bigger and I want to hide, and I don't want anyone to see me, but my weight can be seen, and I want to be invisible, but I'm getting bigger and I want to be seen. I want somebody to save me, and I want to be seen, and the rejection and the failure and the drama, and it's all happening because I'm fat and I'm disgusting and I'm unlovable and I'm out of control. And oh my God, self-hate just got in the car. You know, that's how real that was for me, because it really was. That's exactly how I felt for years in that battle. And when I think of fear and my emotions and my thoughts and self-doubt and old stories and all those stories getting in my car, I can control all of them. But when self-hate gets in the car, that is just something else. This was just so real. To me, it was visceral, how I was living in this vortex of self-rejection. And here's the crazy part. The avoidance was I just couldn't speak up for myself. And I had become this epic people pleaser. Oof. I was burning with resentment for every person that breached my invisible boundaries. Okay? And that is when a simple distraction, a simple stress relief goes to a full-blown addiction and an emotional addiction of self-hate, because no one loved me. So how could I? My body reflected more pain. By now, I'm in chronic pain. I'm 30 years old and my gallbladder collapsed. Get this, the physical act of what I did, which was binge ate 110 pounds over 12 months onto my body, because it was so in such a short amount of time and done in such a negative, terrible way, my gallbladder collapsed. The metaphysical energy for gallbladder is bitterness. And when they removed it, they said it was filled with gangrene, which is metaphysically losing the will to love the self. That's when I knew I had to do the work. I was 30 years old and I was stuffing, and I was doing this to stuff down the resentment that I was feeling and the burning that I was constantly feeling when I over-nurtured everyone else. Because I'm a people pleaser. It's in my 23andMe, right? And I over-nurture and I over-help everyone else. And I am a woman of extremes. but, clearly I had big dreams. So I'm currently still speaking about avoidance behaviors. Okay, right? So the act of overeating and obsessing about food, being distracted by food and hunger, and I'm not speaking about body image. Okay, I'm speaking about disordered avoidance eating. In this moment, we think it's about the weight. That's why everyone comes up to me and says, how do I lose weight? And I want to ask, what's with all the stress relief? And we've got some emotional patterns to break maybe, but you can break them. We'll talk more about our beautiful bodies and how we treat them in my body segment. I'm going to bring it back to avoidance because you don't need to be controlled. Okay, I'm telling you right now, you do not need to be controlled. You need to be fulfilled. Less dieting, more acceptance. Okay, you need to be fulfilled. If your eating has gone to a point of being disordered, please go and get some help. There are so many wonderful programs available to you. So, how to stop obsessing about your body? You're obsessing about it because you're the one rejecting it. Same with your money. Same with that person who rejected you. Or maybe someone else rejected it, or you believe somebody will reject it because you don't accept it, you reject it. It's always you. Stop telling me it's about weight. If you want to deep dive the subject of body image and you're struggling to accept the body you have right now, go to Terry Hofford. Try her books and workshops. She's sitting right here in the front row. Avoidance comes in many ways, but getting stuck in this body diet culture is probably one of the greatest thieves of joy that I have ever experienced. I cannot comprehend that a multi-billion-dollar industry of diet culture has made us hate ourselves. My body is mine. My weight is mine. Just like your body is yours, and how you look and feel good in your body is not my business. Okay, what we're going through in our mental, physical health, no one can see that. No one. What you're internalizing and carrying as a wound, that's your internal filter and it's private. So just know that when it comes to our bodies, all sizes, all ages, we carry baggage and pain. Now, people go to great lengths to hide their addictions, or rather, their disrupted or disordered behaviors. They lie, straight out lie to hide their shame. But there's something about this cloak of shame that we feel we must wear when our bodies carry extra weight. And yet all of the distractions and avoidance actions, eating is by far the most socially acceptable one of them all, but being heavier isn't. So even though this very beauty standard that we've set in our society is unachievable for 98% of this population, will still make it all about our body and tie it directly to our self-worth. So avoidance is just stress relief. Addiction comes from avoidance. And although my avoidance eating went to disordered, you don't have to be an overachiever like me. 95% of my group said they don't know why they do this behavior. They believe they were bored. And that was eating, spending, all avoidance. 95% of my group worked through, they don't know why they do this behavior. They believed it was boredom. In fact, 95% of them said the word boredom, and I want you to cross that word out and put unfulfilled there instead. Because you're not bored. Stupid people are bored. Go and do something. You're a creator. My mother, that was the voice of my mother. Sunday, Mom, I'm bored. You're not bored. You're smart. Go and create something. Okay. And right. So I call unfulfilled. Ooh, isn't that horrible? It's like almost as bad as being called a people pleaser. Most people tell me when I'm coaching them that they're bored or lost, and I'm going to call unfulfilled and disconnected and in lack. Let's go with that one. I'm not good enough, of course, is there for everybody. I'm not good enough becomes avoidance in itself. It's just fear that becomes a narrative from a past evidence of rejection, and it's just pure avoidance. All right? It's just a pattern. The feelings are kind of real, sure, but they're not true. And this is just a self-perception. Old story has gone back into the car. And remember old story and fear? They have that thing. Now, guilt is self-correcting and stress relief is the perfect solution. Do you ever feel guilt? Do you ever feel guilty for no reason? Do you ever just feel the sense of guilt? Think, why do I always feel guilty? Guilt or not honoring your wants, needs, and desires, guilty of not speaking up for yourself, maybe guilty of just your behavior, guilty of your avoidance, guilty of problem, here's shame, here's I'm a bad person. But that's just what you focus on. That's what gets you stuck, is you just focused on as your main focus. You can shift focus. When was the last time you felt joy when you were trapped? Okay, it is human nature. We create negative situations to force change. Why? Why do we do that? And the reason we create negative situations is because when we're in a negative situation, other people force change for us. We want other people to do the changing. When was the last time you felt joy when you were trapped? And why is it human nature to create negative situations? I'll tell you why you feel trapped, because you want to be somewhere else. That means your mouth was saying yes and your soul was saying no. And that is the definition of betraying yourself, because you are not speaking your wants or needs into that space. It's that simple. When was the last time you asked yourself, what do you want? And then honored it? Where is the joy, the meaning, the purpose in your life? Because what I hear, what I feel the most is trapped, frustrated, bored, and unfulfilled. Self-care without self-love boundaries is just stress relief. Seek pleasure to alleviate that pain, right? That's all we do. This happens: food, alcohol, gambling, shopping, gossiping. It starts simple stress relief in order to deal with this pain or fill a hole or seek avoidance or distract me from a painful area of my life or an emotional confrontation. Once we create this pattern, it's in us. This pattern becomes our problem. You're now focusing on the problem every single day. And when you are unfulfilled, you fill it. You consume to get a feeling of fulfillment. And it doesn't matter what the feeling, what the fulfillment is, that's what you just did. So what am I really avoiding? Living to my fullest? Something that makes me uneasy? Why am I so scared of my emotions? Why am I so scared to experience them and feel this, feel these feelings? Because they feel shameful and out of control, but they're not. And you will learn to let these emotions and thoughts and old stories, everyone in the car's talking, you will listen to them, but let it wash over you, and you will let it be. You won't grab hold of the next story and run with it and sit with it and be in pain with it and fight it. Don't try and cover it up. Don't try and fix it. Just feel it. It's okay. Sit in any emotion and breathe. And it washes over you and then it's gone. Observe your thoughts. Let intuition in. Ask for guidance. Meditate on it. Pray on it. Ask to wake up in the morning with the answers. They are always there. If you ask for answers before you go to sleep, they will be there in your brain when you wake up. Write, journal, speak, walk, video yourself talking. Go to a friend that can hold space. I'll show you how. Feel them. They're guiding you. Trust your intuition. When your stress relief becomes a habit, becomes an addiction, you're just saying yes when you're supposed to be saying no. So now it's time to work out what you want so you can start saying some big no's and feel good about it. No more toxic stress relief. Try breathing. Try moving. Try walking, meditating, praying, healing, restoring, learning. Try being. Laughing. Creating, making, loveful, mindful, eating, crafting, loving someone, loving something, loving on myself, something to nurture, cultivate a reason to get out of bed, something to look forward to. Let's deal with our old programming for what it is. My thoughts and my feelings, those 3-year-olds constantly talking shotgun in my car. And all I have to do is observe them. Not believe them, observe them. And when old programming comes up, I'll give you a great example. Oh, you have no discipline. You don't finish anything. My parents said that to me when I was little because I didn't finish anything. Turns out I didn't have to. I'm a creator. My job is to create and then pass it on. I don't have to finish anything. So it was never going to be my superpower anyway. But I thought that that was something at a detriment to myself. And it turns out I can discipline myself to do anything that I enjoy. And when I combine discipline and joy, I'm unstoppable. The whole point of this segment is avoiding what you want, who you want to be, and how you want to live. In doing that, you are creating a whole lot of behaviors and sub-personas that have nothing to do with what you want or who you want to be. And these behaviors become your personalities and your identities, and this is not who you are. So if you are struggling with any of that, if you are struggling with any of the narratives you've created and hold on to for yourself, that's to remind yourself that you can let that go now. In order to shift out of this behavior, you have to disrupt your routine, but not by controlling it, but by creating a more fulfilling day. You don't control the problem. Fill your life with so much joy. There is no need for stress relief. You know, you've got to get up and decide what you want to create for yourself. You have to find something you love more. That's how you change anything. Okay, because we do love our behaviors. Our behaviors are very joyful. Our disruptive behaviors get very disruptive, but they're always joy to start with. So you have to find something to create in your life that is more than what you're stuck on right now. That's how you move.